Mixed martial arts has brainwashed an entire generation into thinking they're invincible. But the simple truth is, step out of the cage and into the streets, and all those skills collapse the second real violence begins. If you trust MMA to save your life in the streets, you're not a warrior, you're a casualty waiting to happen. Let's check it out. People worship MMA like it's the gospel of combat, but what they don't want to admit is that it only survives inside a padded cage with rules, referees, and medics waiting on standby. Strip all of that away and MMA is not combat. It's just sport fighting in a safe, rule-bound environment that does not exist in the real world. Every time someone tells me MMA works in the street, I don't even need to argue with them. I already know they've never faced real-world combat, because when it's three attackers, when blades are flashing in the air, when someone pulls out a gun, and when attacks come from behind your back, the so-called ultimate fighting style turns into a straight beeline to the emergency room. Okay, now it's time to show you exactly why mixed martial arts will fail in real combat situations. What you're about to see are just a few of the glaring omissions and fatal flaws that make MMA completely unfit for reality-based self-defense. And remember, this is only a fraction of what's missing. And if you want to dive deeper into the full picture, I break down many of the principles in my book, Out of the Cage, a complete guide to beating a mixed martial artist on the street. I'll put a link in the description down below if you guys want to check it out. MMA completely ignores the most critical stage of real violence, the pre-contact phase. And here's the truth. In real combat, the one who owns the pre-contact stage generally owns the fight. Mixed martial arts does not teach tactical stances. No de-escalation stance, no natural stance, no first strike stance. All they teach is a fighting stance, and that's completely useless during the go, no-go moments before fists fly. But it doesn't stop there. There's no training in tactical assessment, no training in verbal de-escalation, no first strike doctrine, no drills for reading pre-contact cues or controlling range. Instead, mixed martial art conditions you to wait for the bell before the fight. A mindset that has nothing to do with face-to-face confrontations in the street. The defensive techniques in mixed martial arts are problematic. In the streets, you need defensive techniques that are efficient, effective, and safe. In contemporary fighting arts, we have the high block, we have the mid block. They're very simple and they're very effective. Now, when you're faced in a reality-based situation and you resort to defensive techniques like bobbing and weaving and ducking, and more importantly, this triangle block, you're gonna end up in the morgue. And let me tell you why. If Tommy and I are squared off in a situation, I'm an MMA fighter, I have my stance, and he throws that hook, what I anticipate is gonna be a hook, and I resort to this triangle block. Little did I know that it actually is a blade. You have to understand, this happens all the time to people. They always assume it's unarmed combat. And they don't realize, because maybe the environment's too dark or there's so much emotions and adrenaline and fear and chaos happening, that you don't fixate on those hands and you don't see what's coming your way. And even if it was, you actually identify it as a knife, what are you gonna do? You have no knife defense system. And that knife is gonna go right through into your ear canal. This is just one of the glaring examples of vulnerabilities when using mixed martial art techniques in the street. And before you rush to the comments section with the excuse I always hear, some training is better than nothing, Sammy, let's deal with that right now. The truth is that mindset is dangerous. It creates a false sense of confidence. You start to actually believe that the cage prepares you for the street. And that false confidence is exactly what gets you hurt. Because when you think you're ready, you're more likely to engage with an adversary. And you walk straight into a situation you can't control and don't know how to handle. That's not survival, that's delusion. It's like intentionally strapping on a defective parachute and convincing yourself that you're going to be just fine. That false sense of security doesn't save you, it kills you.
From the ancient Colosseum, where gladiators lived and died, to the storm-torn seas, where iron met flesh upon shattered decks, to the battlefield, where wrath carved kingdoms in blood, bone, and steel, we follow the War Machine. War Machine Chronicles celebrates the warrior archetype, the ethos society seeks to suppress, to soften, to erase. From the age of iron and blood, where warriors roared defiance in the face of death, to all men who still feel the war drum beat beneath their skin, written for fighters, soldiers, and survivors. For those who still walk the edge, it is transformation, forged to harden the mind, discipline the body, and sharpen the will. War Machine Chronicles, not just a book, it's a sacred codex of wrath. Over 300 pages, more than 100 haunting illustrations, combat verse, and lethal philosophy forged by Sammy Franco. War Machine Chronicles, not just a story, but a weapon. It teaches, it tests, it transforms. War Machine Chronicles, coming soon. Available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle editions.
What about the glove illusion? As you know, mixed martial arts, these guys always have their gloves on. They work out with their gloves on, they fight with their gloves on, but in the streets, you don't have these gloves. And let me tell you, this makes a huge difference in how you're gonna fare in a real combat situation. If you're not used to bare knuckle training and bare knuckle fighting, let me tell you, it will not translate into a street fight. This is giving you a crutch. This is giving you a false sense of security. If you're training all the time with gloves and you're hitting with gloves all the time when you're practicing your techniques, you're not gonna make that transition into the real world. You've got to train for what happens in the streets. And let me tell you, you're not going to walk around the streets with gloves on. You're going to be bare knuckled. And if you're not prepared, you're not going to survive. And look, guys, I get it. No one likes to admit they're wrong. But here's the difference. It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. That's the choice. Cling to fantasy or accept reality and actually prepare for it. MMA ignores the pre-fight dialogue. But in contemporary fighting arts, role-playing scenarios teach you how to control the verbal exchange. Look, not every confrontation ends with fists flying, but every confrontation has a verbal exchange. And if you can't handle that, you lose before the fight even begins. MMA fighters are not prepared for the variety of verbal encounters, the insults, the challenges, the posturing. Without role-playing scenarios, you get flustered, you say the wrong thing, you escalate the problem, or you walk away defeated. And don't think for 1 second this only happens to average people. Even at the highest levels of mixed martial arts, fighters lose control the second it gets verbal. If the pros can't control it, what chance does the average guy have in the street? A legitimate, reality-based combat system trains you to maintain emotional control and dominate the verbal exchange. To walk away knowing you held the upper hand, whether it turned physical or not. Now I know some of you people are gonna say it's not about ego, it's about survival. Swallow your pride, just walk away, live to fight another day, and sure, survival is always the priority in self-defense. But let's be real. What happens to a person who constantly submits, apologizes, or talks himself down in every confrontation? He doesn't just walk away safe, he walks away diminished. In contemporary fighting arts, we don't just train your body, we don't just train skills. We train your voice, your language, your presence, your ability to control the verbal arena. Because self-defense isn't just about survival, it's about walking away unbroken as a man. Now, let's talk about the other excuse I see constantly in the comment section. There's no complete combat system out there, or no system is perfect, or it's not the system, it's the fighter that counts. That is absolute bullshit. That's called the coward's anthem, espoused by people who don't want to take it to the next level and face the reality of violence. Instead, they cling to their little martial arts ecosystems because it's safe, it's predictable, it's comfortable. It's a psychological crutch, a way to avoid admitting that they've never stepped into the world of true reality-based combat. The truth is, a complete combat system does exist. And ironically, it's staring them right in the face every single time they watch this channel. Saying there's no complete system is a myopic perspective. It assumes they've studied and compared every single reality-based method out there. They haven't. What they really mean is, I've never trained in contemporary fighting arts, and until they do, all they ever have are excuses, no answers. MMA does not prepare you for deadly force situations. I repeat, it does not prepare you for deadly force situations. And out in the streets, deadly force situations happen all the time. Just look at the news. What are you going to do when someone comes at you with this? Or what are you going to do when someone pulls this on you? I'm really waiting to hear this, MMA people. What are you going to do? What about these scenarios? Does mixed martial arts prepare you for this? What happens if I'm faced with an adversary and he pulls out this wicked weapon? A machete attack. Reality-based self-defense, a credible reality-based self-defense system will teach you how to deal with a machete attack. And for you people to say, I'll just pull out my gun, shut up, go away, you're an idiot, no one wants to hear you, because that's not the real world. You need practical responses to something like this. Reality-based self-defense addresses it. First of all, MMA has no use of force continuum, no ability to read a situation and decide what level of response is necessary. Second, even if you can determine that it's a deadly force situation and it's warranted and justified, MMA does not teach the skills and techniques for lethal hand-to-hand fighting. Their targeting system is controlled by sport. And for those tough guys out there who think they're just gonna figure it out on the fly during the chaos of a real combat situation, you're delusional. MMA is built around sport pacing and safety. In the real world, you need a combat system that ends the fight instantly, not a game plan that racks up points. Here's another fatal flaw in MMA. It only trains you for one-on-one encounters. The cage is always one fighter against another fighter. That's the rule. But on the street, there are no rules and there are no limits. Your situation may start out as a one-on-one fight, but many times in street violence, spectators will jump in just for the hell of it, or worse, just so they can videotape it and let it go viral. What happens when two or more guys jump into the fight? MMA has no tactics, no drills, no methodology for multiple attackers. None. Every single move in the cage is designed for a single opponent. Takedowns, ground fighting, submission techniques, all of it collapses the second another attacker steps in. Because the truth is, when you're tied up with another guy on the ground, his buddy is not going to wait for his turn. He's going to kick you in the head, or cut you in the throat with a knife, or cave your skull in with a baseball bat. This is the reality of the street. Now, I address this problem specifically in my instructional video, Rat Packed, How to Fight Multiple Opponents. It's available for sale on my website at sammyfranco.com. And if you're a War Machine Elite member, you can stream it for free anytime in the members section of this channel. The bottom line is this: contemporary fighting arts prepares you for multiple attackers. It teaches you positioning, mobility, preemptive strikes, how to avoid being locked up with one adversary, and even how to identify who's the alpha and who's the subordinates in a group attack. MMA doesn't teach any of that because in the cage, multiple attackers don't exist. So MMA fighters, what are you going to do in this situation? Hey, we're about to get back into the video, but let me ask you something. Do you want to legitimately accelerate your self-defense skills? And are you sick of clickbait videos teaching absolute garbage? Or tired of being misled by unqualified wannabe experts who have zero credibility or experience? If the answer is yes, now is the time to join my War Machine memberships. As a member, you're going to get exclusive access to in-depth training videos, exclusive full-feature video content, downloadable training PDFs, and direct insights you're not going to find anywhere else. Plus, you're going to have direct access to me in the comments section of all my videos. So if you have questions, you're going to get real, detailed answers from me and not some random keyboard warrior. So if you're serious about mastering real-world combat skills, hit the join button below and start training like a true war machine. Now, let's get back to the lesson. And let's not forget, MMA doesn't teach you how to use weapons. No firearms training, no knife work, no makeshift weapons, not even a Kubaton. A legitimate reality-based combat system teaches you both sides of the equation, how to defend against weapons and how to use them justifiably in self-defense situations. Now picture this, it's the middle of the night, your front door crashes open and intruders flood in. You have a home invasion. What are you going to do if you've never trained with a firearm or an edged weapon? Put one of these guys in a Japanese armbar while his friends ransack your house and brutalize your family? The bottom line is, real-world self-defense demands weapon competence, and my contemporary fighting arts system gives you that. MMA gives you nothing. So now you've seen it for yourself. MMA might look cool in the cage, but the moment it hits the street, the holes are everywhere. And those gaps don't just get you beat, they get you killed. Look, I'm not saying MMA has no value whatsoever. The conditioning, the timing, the ability to fight under pressure, those are real attributes. But they're not nearly enough to survive the unpredictability and chaos of real combat. And if you think otherwise, you're not arguing with me. You're arguing with reality. To make MMA truly work in the real world, you need more than a few add-ons. You need a complete combat system that leaves no gaps. Contemporary fighting arts covers all critical elements that happen in real-world combat. That's the difference between being an athlete and being a survivor. MMA builds false confidence. Contemporary fighting arts builds warriors. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video.